Does anybody remember when the DC logo looked like this? And then was suddenly changed to this? And then just after a couple of years, changed to this? Well, I do. Here is the first episode of PCDC, a new vlog about anything and everything DC. Anything and everything politically correct about DC Comics. Hello everyone, this is Frederick Lopez, and right now you are seeing the first episode of PCDC, which is politically correct about anything and everything DC Comics. Now, some people may know me under the Dark Knight of Steel at the Dark Knight of Steel channel, which I make a whole bunch of music tributes based on films, TV shows I like, and most of all Batman, with Batman films and Batman video games such as the Batman Arkham series. But I decided to have another channel under my name, Frederick Lopez. That's who I am. And on this channel there are a variety of shows. One of them has already been kind of starting, called Action Reaction, and then there's going to be Final Cut, Rom-Com, Gaming Hour, and it's just basically like kind of like this but more review retrospective series on romantic comedies, horror films, and the action genre. But PCDC is basically, think of it as like a vlog, so to speak, or even like a podcast but with a camera and a person talking into a camera instead of a microphone. And just any topic over DC Comics and anything DC related, TV, film, whatever. And that's everything DC, not just what's considered now the DC Cinematic Universe. I count all the films. So I could talk about Steel all the way to Dark Knight Trilogy. And I was gonna show you all my DC comics and graphic novels, but I think I'd rather save that for the very, very end. But as this first episode premieres, we recently just had two special anniversaries. That is the 10th anniversary of Batman Begins, which was June 15th, 2005. And then the 20th anniversary of Batman Forever, which was June 16th, 1995. I made a music tribute about Batman Forever earlier, the week before, based on the LA premiere for when it first opened in LA, but as far as wide release, June 16th. I remember I saw Batman Forever when I was a kid with my parents, brother-in-law, my sister, and brother, and we went on Father's Day weekend at June 16th, and that was a special film. And I'll get to that later. We're going to talk about the 20th anniversary, 10th anniversary of Batman Begins, and then go on to a little bit more topics with the Arkham Knight video game that's about to come out next Tuesday. Okay, we're a bit closer now. As I was saying, I saw Batman Forever during Father's Day weekend, June 16th, 1995. And I liked the film at the time as a kid. I thought it was great, and I still think it's pretty good now. It just doesn't stand up as well as far as kind of being taken seriously after the Dark Knight trilogy. But I did really enjoy that film. And I thought Val Kilmer did a great job after Michael Keaton and kind of brought like another element to like his kind of like dark repressed side and kind of torment and bruteness of Bruce Wayne, and overall a lot better than what George Clooney had to bring if he brought anything really. But Jim Carrey was great. He like stole the show. He's basically like Jack Nicholson in the first Batman, kind of a little bit like the Riddler in the Adam West series, and kind of a bit more Jim Carrey in there. And Tommy Lee Jones, I like Tommy Lee Jones. It's just that he wasn't Two-Face. It was more kind of like, he played it more like a calculating Joker, as if it was Jack Nicholson in Batman '89, but not Two-Face, not Harvey Two-Face. Except for that opening scene, and then the part where he tells Riddler, Edward Enigma is just like, heads who live, tails will blow your damn head off. Like, that was kind of Two-Face, but other than that. And yeah, it was glow sticks and kind of like tie-dye crazy neon coloring in Gotham City. Very different from the other two Batmans. But I get to that in the original series, is that unlike the Dark Knight trilogy, it's not as consistent. So like, even though you have Michael Keaton come back in Batman Returns and it's Tim Burton, the 1992 Batman feels so different than the 1989 Batman. And then even more so, 1995 Batman Forever feels more different than Batman Returns. And it just wasn't consistent. But in defense of that inconsistency as far as like the atmosphere, they all really kind of follow the same route of the comics, and I find that kind of interesting on this anniversary, how even with the 75-year anniversary of Batman, it started off dark, and then kind of got a little bit lighter, then went to family camp, and then back to being dark again. And in a way, that's what the films also did. Started off dark, kind of got a little too dark, then kind of like in the middle, kind of fun, with a bit of camp, and then just total camp. And then back to just being dark and realistic. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. And it's not that bad of a film. It's a product of its time, really. And I like how each of them really represent the comics in that regard to the tone. So like the first 89 Batman, even though there's Prince music and there's stuff from the 80s, it's still kind of Art Deco 1930s Batman, like when he started in the comics. And then even though it's the same universe and they continue with Michael Keaton and Tim Burton, it's just a little bit different in Batman Returns. It has a little bit of that Art Deco in there and everything, but it's more so homage to the 90s comics at the time with Batman. Even in the design of the suit and everything. And then Batman Forever, I think, kind of represents more of the 40s, with a little bit more of the fun and adventure, them going to fight the villain lair and just like kind of crazy adventures once Robin was introduced. Early 40s. And then Batman and Robin, of course, is pretty much the TV show with Adam West. Although, I would recommend watching the Adam West TV show over Batman and Robin any day. Unless you want to see some really awesome Arnold Schwarzenegger puns. And then, that brings me to Batman Begins. It's been 10 years since Batman Begins, and that was a very important film. It was originally supposed to come out June 17th, 2005, but I remember they released it a bit early, 2 days early, as a matter of fact, on Wednesday, June 15th, 2005. I remember going to see that, and I was very excited. I don't know if there's any other DC fans out there, Batman fans. Do you remember those 8 years? Like, after Batman and Robin, you just had, like, the New Adventures and Batman Beyond with a bit of the other remnants of Batman the Animated Series, but other than that, other than the OnStar commercials, there wasn't anything Batman. And I remember they were like having OnStar advertisements saying like, oh yeah, watch this or subscribe to our email list and you'll have a chance to see the new Batman. Catwoman was made, but that wasn't really any good, and it was Patience Price instead of Selena Kyle. You had Sharon Stone instead of Michelle Pfeiffer. And there just wasn't anything on Batman. I remember there was just like Batman Beyond might be made into a movie. Then there's Batman versus Superman. And I think again John Travolta as Superman. And then there's the Kevin Smith Project, which is now in a documentary, by the way. I highly recommend watching it. It's pretty interesting. And then maybe there would have been a Batman Year One. But they had the idea of Batman Begins. Got Christopher Nolan, which I loved Memento. I remember seeing that. And that was a very important movie because those 8 years there was nothing Batman. There were some toys from the cartoons, but there was no merchandise. Not like there is now. I mean, I couldn't get these posters. I couldn't get a Batman shirt. Anything other than just some toys. Nothing else. No wallets. Nothing like you see now. And that's why I wear it. When I was in college, I just recently graduated. People would ask me, why do you wear Batman stuff? Why do you wear merchandise all the time? And I'm like, because of the 8 years, there was no merchandise. So I'm wearing as much of it and buying as much of it as possible while it lasts. Because I never know when there's going to be another drought of Batman. And I remember seeing the movie. And that was the point where I realized Hollywood, they got it right. Hollywood finally got Batman right. And sure, they took a little bit of liberties. They didn't have the Lazarus Pit. Stuff like that. But it was still true to the source and had the spirit and everything. They were true to the character and they actually took it seriously. You can tell by watching the interviews. It's just like they don't refer to it as like, oh, just a comic book character, so we have to do it like we're playing a comic book character. Christian Bale actually took the role of Batman seriously. And that movie was just great, and it showed the level of what comic book films can be. That first one, and then Dark Knight even blew that one away, and then more so Dark Knight Rises just kept on going. And Batman Begins really changed everything, not only for the genre and how people and filmmakers take origin stories, but it invented the term reboot. After Batman Begins, 007 got rebooted with Casino Royale, Star Trek got rebooted, everybody's rebooting everything. Spider-Man even got rebooted. And if it wasn't for Batman Begins, I don't know if we would have been through that. Or even origin stories that were really done well, like the first Iron Man, for instance. Just stuff that really kind of focuses on the character and who the character is, in addition to the superhero. And in some regards, I think it goes back to Superman the movie, too, with the casting, where it's just like you kind of hire a lesser-known actor, and the supporting cast are well-known actors, and kind of take the Superman the movie approach to it. But I remember seeing that, and then that end, just everything about that movie was great, and then the end with the Joker card. Oh, I got so pumped up. Not only because it's a Joker, I was like wondering who's going to play the Joker and stuff, but it was a nod to Batman Year One. And that was one of my favorite comics growing up. I got the individual issues from a bookstore that had like comics from all type of years. It was from the 80s. I got the individual comics, and then later on got the graphic novel. And that movie really, it just resurrected Batman for everyone. And then it made it popular again. The character's popular. Not as popular as it was during Dark Knight, though. He was getting there, and then once Dark Knight hit, everybody was a Batman fan. It didn't matter if you're a comic book reader, you're a fan of the anime series, it's like everybody after Dark Knight considered themselves a Batman fan. And he was popular, and then you had the Arkham Asylum games, which I get to with the release of Arkham Knight. And that was a great film, and I can't believe it's been 10 years since that film was released. And I still think it's a film to be looked upon. Not only even if you're not doing any comic book films, it's just a good film to do. And then if you're doing a comic book film, it shows that you always stay true to the source material. They brought Batman to being dark again. They didn't make him campy. They didn't do it for toys. They didn't do it for the family. They did it with the character, what he's about, started from the beginning, ground up. And that's what you have to do. And that's why I think the Spider-Man didn't work out. The Amazing Spider-Man is that they tried to make him, it's one thing to do realistic, but like dark. And everybody thinks dark is good. I'm like, dark is good because Batman is meant to be dark. That's why he's called the Dark Knight. And your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is not like that. But enough of the Marvel character. Let's get back to DC. It was a really great film. Christian Bale did an amazing job. And it was the first time, really, I like all the actors. I like all the actors, but Christian Bale, he was the first actor that actually felt like a totally different person as Bruce Wayne and as Batman. And I like all the Batmans, but they just didn't feel that way. But Michael Keaton was a good Bruce Wayne, good Batman. And I know he wasn't very fit and didn't look like the ideal Bruce Wayne, but realistically, I could see why a guy like him needed to be in a bat suit to beat criminals up. And Tim Burton's approach and why he got Michael Keaton, that a guy needs to be in a bat suit. So I get that. But overall, it was just great, and it shows how you make a movie, a good movie, and a great Batman film. They finally got it right. None of the franchise stuff, just got back to basics. And it was great. It went back to what the character is. And it's up there with Mask of the Phantasm for me as the top Batman films, along with Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Then you get to Batman Arkham Asylum in 2009, and then in 2011, Batman Arkham City. Then, 2013, you get to Batman Arkham Origins. But this next Tuesday, June 23rd, Batman Arkham Knight arrives on the PS4. And I was gonna get on the PC. And I was going to get Batman Arkham Knight on the PC. I didn't feel like paying that much for a console, but then I saw that it might lag. You may need a graphics card for it not to lag. I have a Windows Vista instead of a Windows 7 or 8 because I converted to Mac. So I figure as much as I pay for a graphics card and a new computer, I might as well get me a PS4. So I may do that and play Arkham Knight, in which case I will upload walkthroughs on my channel, and then share music tributes once I'm done with the story. With all 4 Arkham games, and all 3 by themselves for the Rocksteady ones. But it's going to be very emotional. For people who grew up with it, and aged with it, and more particular, aged and grew up with Kevin Conroy as Batman, this is going to be kind of monumental. And the reason why I say that is you may remember the NBA playoffs, or the TV spots everywhere you're seeing with Mercy by Muse, and it shows Arkham Knight, and then Gordon's opening lines are like, "This is how it started. This is how the Batman died." They may kill him off. They may not pull a Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight Returns type of twist. They may actually kill off the Batman. But we're just going to have to see how it turns out. However, it's going to be monumental because now it's like at the pinnacle of video games, and we've seen Kevin Conroy as Batman since 1992, animated series, spin-off series, animated movies, and the Bruce Timm-verse, and just in other stuff, Injustice Gods Among Us, and other platforms as Batman. And it's just going to be odd seeing this ending to the Arkham series that not only was great as a game, but great as a Batman game. It was like Batman Arkham Asylum was like the first great Batman game. Now I've enjoyed others like Batman Vengeance and Batman Begins in 2005 on the PlayStation 2, but Batman Arkham Asylum was like, that was just something else. That totally changed the game. Batman Arkham Asylum to video games is what like Dark Knight and Batman Begins was to film. And it's just incredible to see how it's all going to end. And it's just strange just growing up in each stage and evolution of Kevin Conroy as Batman, and that after all these years we have reached to this. I'm not saying that's going to be his last role as Batman, but it's just a stage of events and levels, chapters of Kevin Conroy as Batman, the voice of Batman. You have many great actors, including Ben Affleck, playing Batman, but to me, Kevin Conroy is Batman. So that's kind of crazy. Now, here on PCDC, this is more of an introductory chapter. I'm going to be having different topics later, but this was just for the week in between Batman Begins, Batman Forever's anniversary, and it's also the 23rd anniversary today, on June 19th, 1992, that Batman Returns was released. And yeah, between that and the 23rd release, June 23rd release of Batman Arkham Knight, I just wanted to have a little video and introduce this segment. And this is just very brief. I meant to go more into detail, but I didn't want to kind of bore anyone. I'm still kind of new at this. I'm trying to figure out the format. But it's going to mostly be like this with some fun stuff and kind of like a vlog or a podcast just with the face and me talking to a camera. And hopefully y'all can see more. Topics I'm going to be going over are: what the hell happened to Arrow in Season 3? How awesome was The Flash Season 1? Go over Gotham Season 1, thoughts on direction and where they're going to take the series from now on. Thoughts on Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, Jared Leto's Joker, which I think looks scary, by the way. I think he's going to do a great job. He's very much like the comic book Joker, kind of Dark Knight Returns type of Joker. So I'm very interested to see where they go, and then Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. First time we get to see Harley Quinn in a live-action feature film, so that'll be cool. And then, more so on the other shows, what will happen in Arrow Season 4, what they can do to kind of like fix what they did in Arrow Season 3. And I'm not saying Arrow Season 3 is entirely bad, but it was just kind of disappointing, mediocre, not as good as the first two. And they went directions where they really shouldn't have gone. I kind of want it more towards Oliver, but we'll talk about that later. Supergirl, which actually looks really cool. I wasn't sure about it, but like it looks awesome, and she can fly, so they're not going to have the whole Smallville no flights, no tights rule. And then Lego Batman 3, whenever that gets out. I still need to play Lego Batman 2. I know it's a travesty, but I played Lego Batman. It's just I was busy with the Arkham games. I also, real quick, want to talk about DC fans. And we kind of get a bad rap, and I know we have to deal with... I mean, I like comic books. I like all comic books in general. But if there was a gun to my head and I had to say if I like Marvel or DC more, I'm going to have to say DC Comics. Holy Trinity alone just says that. But just talk about like how fanboys treat each other, and like Marvel fanboys, DC, some fanboys start out stuff, but really I've mostly seen it from Marvel and experienced it from Marvel, and I like both, but like they get really butthurt about certain situations, which I'm like, why? I like both. But excuse me if I don't want to be going through a movie that just has a whole bunch of humor and no story or plot development. But talk about basically fanboys, fan criticism, and kind of the war that's going on, which it doesn't need to be a war. It really doesn't. But just kind of go over that, because I've seen it in a lot of message boards and social media. I see it in discussions with other people and stuff like that, and it's just kind of like, it shouldn't be that way. That just gives us DC fanboys a bad name. And the other one, fanboys, you're giving Marvel fanboys a bad name. My brother is a Marvel fanboy, like a real Marvel fanboy, and like other fanboys, he gets butthurt when I talk about stuff that I think of. But I mean, that's just the way it is. But he doesn't go around just like crap talking everything about DC Comics. No, and I don't crap talk everything about Marvel. I just say what was wrong, so it's just more of like what I want out of it. But like the whole flame wars and everything, it's just they're looking for something, and I just don't like that. So you're not gonna have any of that here. Enough of the Marvel talk, just all DC. Everything and anything politically correct about DC Comics. But let me know how this introduction video was. It's very scattered and not very good, I feel. But we'll see. On the comments below, let me know what you think about the whole Convergence storyline that's going on in DC Comics. And if you read the Smallville Season 11 comics and the Arkham Knight prequel comics from DC. I really like to delve into this more later on, but as of right now, I think in this introductory chapter, I'll give you time to look at my comic book and graphic novel collection as a DC fan. So here we go. Okay, now we're going to go on to my novels, graphic novels, and comic book collection of DC stuff I have. To start off, I have myself here, the definitive guide to the characters of the DC Universe, DC Comics Encyclopedia. This is before the updated edition. Has artwork by Alex Ross. And you get to go through each of the characters in alphabetical order that are in the DC Universe. So you can do Batman, Hawkman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Lois Lane, Dr. Fate, all the way to Amazo. Then, this is the DC Vault, museum and a book that goes through the entire history of the DC Comics. It includes collectibles all the way from the 30s, 40s. Superman. To each individual stage in the DC Comics. Then Batmobile, which goes over all the editions and incarnations of the Batmobile throughout the years. Michael Keaton. Get a history of the car itself all throughout the years. Here is one of my favorites, the art and making of the Dark Knight trilogy, which goes over the art and making of all three films in the Dark Knight trilogy: Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Influences, inspirations, pre-production, production, and post-production, as well as reflections of the entire trilogy. It's not a bad book, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the film trilogy as I am. Very good buy. So that's the Dark Knight trilogy. Then we have ourselves here the Batman Encyclopedia, which is an encyclopedia on anything and everything Batman throughout the years. Not bad. After that is a visual history of Batman, going all the way from his origins through each decade, Adam West, TV shows, O'Neill era, all the way to Frank Miller in the 90s, animated series, and films. The DC Comics Guide to Penciling. Now it's with computer graphics and through the computer, but with the penciling. Back before everything was through computers, learned how to draw and make a comic book. Very helpful, not only for me drawing for hobby and still frame films, but to make storyboards for other film productions I am working on. I have the graphic novel Watchmen. Great graphic novel. And I would say an underrated film, even though it's not like the graphic novel in the left out parts and change things. I still really enjoy it and think it's vastly underrated. As a matter of fact, even after all that, I had more respect for the film after reading the graphic novel. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Many influences this story has had on other Batman incarnations, and really the ending of The Dark Knight Rises is also a very well-made animated film starring Peter Weller as a voice of Batman. And yes, that is RoboCop. Batman, The Long Halloween. A lot of influences this had on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight with Harvey Dent. Very good graphic novel here. One of the best Batman stories, in my opinion. Very good. Batman, Superman, Warship. Terry McGinnis. Then here is a very well written story by Kevin Smith, Batman Cacophony. Very great. I'm still waiting for him to finish this trilogy. It's Cacophony and the Widening Gyre that were really great. Paid homage to previous years, and more particular the Burton films. And I really like Onomatopoeia as the villain. Includes a manuscript of the script there. Very great story, and I recommend reading this, and you'll know what I mean when it gets to the part with Batman and the Joker at the hospital. One of the best lines of dialogue and scenes I've read in a Batman graphic novel or comic. Here's Batman the Widening Gyre. And this is actually a lot better than Cacophony, which surprised me. That one I thought was good. And I wouldn't mind seeing Kevin Smith write a Batman film or even a TV episode. Despite what people say, I really love his work. And not only is it very kind of meta as far as like the homages to previous incarnations, it stays true to the character. And there's just a level of excitement in his writing. You can tell he really loves the character of Batman. And especially after this series when he talked about watching The Dark Knight and it kind of reinvigorating his interest in Batman. Very good story. Cliffhanger end that is just like leaves you gasping and just say, oh my god. So I'm highly anticipating the conclusion. It's a very good Joker story of recent years. Joker. Very dark and demented and really kind of balls out there. I love it. I highly recommend this. This is one of my favorite Joker stories along with The Killing Joke. And this is just like kind of like what The Dark Knight had, but if it was on HBO and rated R. Really great. Very modern. To see the Batman at the end. Very good. Speaking of The Killing Joke, by Alan Moore, probably one of the best Joker origin stories. And Tim Burton read this Didn't read any other really much comics of Batman. Had a heavy influence on '89 Batman from this. Very great. And I would like to see this either done in live action or animated. And if animated, have Mark Hamill voice it. This is one of the definitive Joker stories and one of the definitive Batman stories, I would say, through 75 years. Very great. Side note, here is a Heroes and Villains encyclopedia for seasons 1 and 2 of the characters on Arrow. I really like this. I wouldn't mind seeing this updated with seasons 3 and 4, but as far as the first 2 seasons, it's a really good encyclopedia of all the characters of the TV show at that point in time. Very good. It's probably one of my favorite Superman stories and one of the best origins, Superman's Secret Origins, which I thought Man of Steel should have been more like. Now, Man of Steel did take points from this graphic novel, but really, this had the best parts of all the previous Superman incarnations from the comics, from the Christopher Reeve films, and Smallville, the TV show. And really, I wouldn't mind seeing it adapted into a movie. This is how you do a first Superman movie. It's one of the greatest origin stories of Superman I've seen reinvented. And it's a must-buy, I would say. The death of Superman from the mid-90s. When he fought Doomsday and died. That's not really a spoiler. After all, it does say death of Superman. World without Superman is even more compelling. And I say is where it really starts, seeing a world without Superman. And we live in a world without Superman as far as real life goes. But it's really strange seeing the world, the DC universe, without Superman around. And the impact it's had on people. And it's just heartbreaking, but one of the better Superman stories that doesn't really have him. Until the very end, through a spiritual scene, in which you also see Jonathan Kent at the hospital. That really kind of gets you emotional. The Return of Superman. This was just a grand finale to what started in the death of Superman. And yeah, I highly, highly recommend The Return of Superman. Another Frank Miller classic, Batman Year One. And you can tell the influence this had on Batman Begins. These are the original comics I had. Very, very great story, but not only is it a good Batman story, I would say it's probably one of the greatest Commissioner Gordon stories that is out there in comics. A really kind of darker approach to how Batman first started out, and it's really good with just like the months going by in a journal of the first year of Bruce Wayne as Batman. A dark modern retelling. One of the better stories, Batman Year One. One of my favorite early stories I read, Bruce Wayne Murderer. I feel like this is very underrated. I don't have the sequel, but I've read it, Bruce Wayne Fugitive, but this is really good. He basically gets framed for murder and is in jail, and it's a very great story, but the end leaves a confrontation between Nightwing and Batman that is just really emotionally powerful. And Batman just crosses that line as far as like, should I live as the Batman or Bruce Wayne? And he goes completely to the other side as Batman. Great story. And over here is a Smallville role-playing game. Pretty much like Dungeons and Dragons. Regular role-playing game. But with the television series. Smallville. You see some of that there. Cyborg, Canary, Arrow. All of them. So there's that. So here are all my Smallville comics. This is from season 11. So you get to see like all the stories there. I have almost all the issues. I'm starting to get the Green Lantern saga. in the later on ones, but overall, it's a very great continuing of the Smallville series. It's a very good continuation of the Smallville series, and I would highly recommend it, and then get it in graphic novel form and some of the stuff. It's very, very well written, and I wouldn't mind a follow-up either in a TV show or a cartoon. Even a cartoon would be good if they can get the voices just for like all the stuff. And that was crazy with Doomsday's return. And then Wonder Woman has Tom Welling's likeness there. Very, very great comic book series. And then some side stories. Alien. Here we go, transitioning to some of the Superman comics I have. Superman Confidential #1. These here are just random Supermans. Issue number 4 from Secret Origin, which I talked about earlier, I have in graphic novel form. Or Superman. Famous Jim Lee portrait of Superman. The Guardian. During the return of Superman. Here is the wedding album for Lois and Clark. Fighting Bizarro. Bizarro World. Superman the Guardian again. Cat Grant's Revenge. Sons of the Father. Champion of Space. He's rocking his long hair. Superman dead. There is more Return of Superman stories with a different Superman. This is 0 Hour. This is where he goes back to Krypton and sees his birth parents. Lois. And then issue number 2 in the 80s, Revamp, where Lex Luthor figures out Clark Kent is Superman through a computer. Issue number 3, where Darkseid arrives. Underworld, Bug Hunt. Enter the Dragon. Side comics, here is a number 3 issue of Robin. Includes a Joker wild card for the 90s. Infinite Crisis number 1. Infinite Crisis number 8. Batman Sad. Out of the New 52 series, I have the first issue of Batman when it was relaunched with the New 52 title. Then Bruce Wayne Murderer. Batman Year 1. Legends of the Dark Knight. Batman and Robin, Damian Wayne was almost killing Dick Grayson. It's when Darkseid sent him through another time and you thought Batman died. This was a good series here. Mila Jovovich there. Very, very deep and dark. Here is Gotham Adventures from the New Adventures, and I also have the animated series based on the cartoon series. The WB. Very Batman Vengeance right there. This is a good one with Clayface. Here's one from the animated series with Man-Bat from the first episode on Leather Wings. Two-Faced. Very wicked cover. Speaking of Two-Face, Showcase 93, issue number 7 of Two-Face. Over here is the Before Watchmen series with the Minutemen, the original Night Owl, and then in reverse, it's the start of second Night Owl. Here, it's original and new Silk Spectre, Before Watchmen, and then the Comedian. Here is issue number 1 of the tie-in series of Arrow to the CW show, based on the Green Arrow. Issue number 2. And then Detective Comics. We have The New 52, number 27, Batman. Issue number 1 of the Batman Beyond universe series they have, which is based on the Batman Beyond TV show with Terry McGinnis. Over here, issue number 5 of Batman Confidential. Nice bike. Here we have Shadow the Bat, Wild Nights. Azrael and Batman from the Nightfall. Night's End. Here is Batman and Deadman. And then from Nightfall, issue 500. This was given to me as a gift for my birthday from a high school friend, Larry Trejo. So I am grateful and thank him for getting me this in Corpus Comics Plus. Still in good condition. Here is a tie-in series to Batman Arkham City issue 1, which goes over the events shown in the Arkham City trailer with Hugo Strange. Issue 2, Batman and Hugo Strange's face. Issue 3, I didn't get issue 4, but I have issue 5. Issue 4 sold out, surprisingly, but I get the final chapter. And then I also got the start of some of the Arkham Unhinged series, which is tied into the video games. But after a while, it's really kind of like other people doing their own thing. Issue number 1, very much like the video game. Issue 2. Issue 3, Joker, Penguin, and Harley Quinn. Issue 6, with Robin, Solomon Grundy, and Bane, based on the hit video game. Issue 7, Harley, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman, and Batman, which there are a couple now. I kind of knew that a little bit based on the animated series episode, but that was just me. And then Killer Croc here in 8. Okay, that was the first episode of PCDC. And if you like, go ahead and like below. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There'll be more videos coming soon. And then if you like this, go ahead and check out my first YouTube channel, The Dark Knight of Steel, which I have Batman music videos, other DC music videos, and music videos based on movies I like and stuff. As well as short films I've made that are on there and my channel. This was a little bit long, I know, but this is just the first episode to start kind of getting things moving along. And the next couple of episodes will be more focused and topic based. So if you'd like to, comment below, and if there's any other topics you'd like me to talk about with like movies, video games, animation, TV, even music that is DC Comics related, just comment below and let me know so I can put it in for future episodes. This is Frederick Lopez with PCDC. Anything and everything politically correct about DC Comics. And I'll see you next time.